Hello everyone and welcome to round 10 of the Division 1 season. This week, the league takes on the newly created Miami International Autodrome, a 5.4-kilometer circuit that features 19 corners, all of which have been specifically designed to create mistakes from the drivers and to promote good racing with top speeds of up to 335 kilometers per hour, or if you're American, roughly 210, somewhere in that range. That is quite fast. Hotspot on the call, as you'd expect. We are really into the business end of the season now. Only a couple races still left to go. Really cannot be making mistakes this anywhere forward from here. And this track, if you're anyone aside from a Division 1 driver, or... well, I mean, I don't know where I'm going with that. This track definitely gives you a lot of mistakes. I have yet to really complete a solid lap around this track. I am absolutely bum terrible at it. But yeah, this one should be fun here in Miami around the football stadium, as you can see. Interesting enough. Before we begin, let's take a good look at our point standings going into tonight. It's a rather cloudy day then here in Miami. Let's see what we got. So, alright, ladies and gentlemen, once again, we are 25 seconds away from, I think we're doing formation lap again. Well, either way, if we're not, we are 20 seconds away from the inaugural Miami Grand Prix here in the Midwest F1 League, here in Division 1. It's been a very interesting qualifying session. Scornsy, our championship leader's in quite the hole at this moment in time. Let's see if he can bounce back. I don't know if we are doing a formation lap or not, so let's go ahead and pretend that we are. Yes, we are. Formation lap is on one more time. So, as we mentioned already, GSR Ryan Rod's on pole. Aero Racing Design second, Lancey third, Scornsy fourth. Now, the biggest thing here is this. Let's go ahead and see what tires people are on. So, after the restart has happened, a lot of people have actually changed their minds. The majority of the field now on the medium tires. Remember, the last time in the initial lobby, it was about 50-50 split between the hards and medium tires. Well, now, it looks like we've got more than half the field on mediums, 4 people instead of 3 on the softs, those being Dace, Elma Jacko, Impossible Bacon, and Scavney. Everyone else is on the hards. We've got Killer XL, Forward, Smith Pell, and JCast all starting on the hards. Now, if you remember correctly, the last time, Aero Racing Design had actually started on those hard compound tires, and then, once the restart happened, of course, you're allowed to change what tire you start on. So, he has chosen now to opt for the mediums. That is going to put him at least, I would say, I don't want to say an advantage, but at least on level pegging with GSR Ryan Rods at the top of the grid. Who, by the way, GSR Ryan Rods, in case you missed it already, the driver to beat today by far. Oh, wow, and he's just completely killed the baller then, hasn't he? We're going to get a safety car before the race even starts. Well, thankfully it's glitched through the side of the track. Anyways, so, one more time, let's go over our tire ages. So we have soft tires going 7 to 9 laps, mediums 13 to 17, and then the hards 17 to 23. 29 lap Grand Prix. It should be a very interesting one here today. Once again, we have that formation lap on, custom formation laps, obviously. GSR Ryan Rods, now this is the habit that we've seen him form, is that, look at the gap that he makes out here on the formation lap. He's already at the grid, and everyone else behind him is only exiting turn 17 now. He is stuck on that grid with cold tires, decreasingly warm tires for the longest time. Oh, and he is actually now disqualified himself on his formation lap attempt, so now he may be at a disadvantage on the grid. Let's see here, Aero Racing Design. Let's see where he angles himself. He's going to have a huge advantage here if he can park the car at least, ability to. He doesn't actually angle himself across any, which is interesting there. Lancey doesn't really. Well, actually, Lancey's quite angled there to the sides. Scornsy really angled over to the side. As you can see, he's pointed once again right towards that gap between the drivers in the front row. That is going to be the one to watch there. Dace is quite angled. Tiger NASCAR looks quite angled. See, this is what we're looking at here. Here's Tiger NASCAR looking at Scornsy ahead of him. Very much angled aside then. And so, here we are then. Lights should be turning on now for the inaugural Midwest F1 Miami Grand Prix. And the lights are not turning on. That's quite odd. Where do lights be, FM? Here we go. Lights are turning on. Then we have 3, and then 4, and then finally 5. And it is lights out, and away we go here in Miami. We got a yellow flag off towards the back. Someone has not gotten away quite well then. It looks like, do we have a conundrum at the back again? No, but for now, GSR Ryan Rods gets away well. Lancey goes around the left-hand side of Aero Racing Design, and for the time being, they've made it all cleanly out of the first corner, minus Scornsy, who's dropped positions then back to Dace. Dace has taken him up the inside and has gotten that fourth position away from him. Now he's under pressure from his teammate of GSR Edgar back there, side by side, I believe. Did the Williams then of Tiger NASCAR? Maybe did he just make contact with the wall? He was glitched over, perhaps it was just his connection, but he really went over to the left side of the circuit then, and now it seems, here's Aero Racing Design right on the gearbox then of Lancey for that second spot. Meanwhile, GSR Ryan Rod's out to almost a second-and-a-half gap already. When I say second-and-a-half, it's more like a second and a tenth. We got a driver off towards the back, Tiger NASCAR. He has spun it round then, and the virtual safety car is out on track, up as well. I believe someone else had a bit of a spin there. I'm not quite sure who it was. I believe it may have been Jonathan Dunk. I'm not sure. We did see Tiger NASCAR go off, and there was one other driver involved in that kind of skirmish. But for the time being, the Williams of Tiger NASCAR has, in fact, lost his front wing and has brought out the virtual safety car. Thankfully, it's not a full safety car, but... Oh, wait, did that say full safety car on the sign? I don't see the safety car coming out. Let's see what we got here. I'm going to assume it's virtual. Yeah, virtual safety car for now. Lancey has gotten into that second spot. He's gotten around Aero Racing Design on the start. Dace has taken fourth from that of Scornsy. So Scornsy's not had himself an ideal starting spot whatsoever here. Is starting fourth, and he was angled way over to the side. And unfortunately, I think the drivers on those soft tires were really, off to the races on the start. As Dace now, he's up one spot. El Majaco's up 3. Impossible Bacon, Scabney rather, is up 4. So now as the field winds through the second lap of the Grand Prix, it looks like, well, Tiger NASCAR's on his way into the pits. Here's El Majaco. He's within a couple of tenths on race day, now ahead. Doesn't look like he's in position to make an overtake yet. Perhaps once DRS comes into play, we'll see more overtaking opportunities. But for now, it really is just in these early stages, being the one who makes the least amount of mistakes. And speaking of mistakes, I believe Dace may have just made one, as suddenly Scornsy, for a moment there, was all over the gearbox of the Ferrari ahead. As GSR Ryan Rods leads the pack over to the horseshoe corner here. He turns 11 and 12 and 13. He's got a 2.5 second gap over Lancey in second and counting. Aero Racing Design, he's in close pursuit then of Lancey ahead. Let's see if anyone makes a mistake here going through the worst chicane in the world. And no, not for the time being. Although it looks like, I tell you what, Aero Racing Design really on the throttle early and did not get proper traction. We saw Scornsy make that mistake during the qualifying session, which resulted in his DNF on his final flying lap. As you can see, the DRS train starting to form here. Dace is unable, really, to come out of, not DRS train, but slipstream train. It will be a DRS train quite soon. But he was not able to find the pace to actually get around to the rest of the grid. He chose not to use his battery, as Ryan Rod sets the fastest lap, 1:30.888. DRS is enabled this lap, so that is going to mean well for Scornsy. And it's going to mean well for pretty much everyone on the grid, as I think every driver, aside from KB07 back to Majaco, and obviously Lancey back to GSR Ryan Rods, everybody within DRS range of each other. Here's race day. Now he's within a couple of tenths then on Cake Thomas, 2 tenths to be exact. And I tell you what, as a driver, when you see a car behind all over your mirrors like that, it does generate mistakes, so we'll have to wait and see if Race Day can perhaps find a move around Cake Thomas and the Red Bull. Meanwhile, here's Aero Racing Design. He's got DRS on the McLaren of Lancey ahead. It looks like Impossible Bacon's had himself an off. Aero Racing Design is going to go around the right-hand side. Now, does any sort of safety car come out? No, it doesn't. Let's go ahead and check in with Impossible Bacon right quick. Has he lost any of his front wing? Oh, it doesn't. Well, he's lost the end plate on the left-hand side, but it looks like right then we've just missed it. Aero Racing Design and Lancey were side by side going through the horseshoe. Heavily over the sausage curb then. Aero Racing Design had a bit of a skirmish on exit of the corner with his oversteer last time, and now look at this, the DRS train forming now, swerving across the circuit. It's honestly quite pretty. That here's Lancey. He's going to look around the right-hand side, that of Aero Racing Design ahead, 336 kilometers an hour he peaked at. That's roughly 207 miles an hour. Still around that right-hand side. He's now only just gotten around the Williams. Looks like Scornsy was not able to overtake Dace then, but here comes Dace. He's going to look for it around Aero Racing Design here, down to the inside. Oh, I hope he doesn't botch the braking zone here. No, he doesn't. Still down to the inside of the Williams, side by side, as they make their way through the first couple of corners here. And this is going to be crucial. Does anyone slip, have an error on the throttle? As Scornsy now going around that left-hand side, and he's made up that 4th position once more. Brilliant wheel-to-wheel racing here. And Dace, I think, held on to it really well, but unfortunately, he's lost that position to Scornsy. And now DRS going to be in play once more. Aero Racing Design, once again, he's been overtaken by Lancey, has about a half a second gap to the McLaren ahead, and now here's Scornsy. Can he find a move around Aero Racing Design? Does Dace have anything for Scornsy? Does Edgar have anything for Dace? Does Cake Thomas have anything for Edgar? Does Race Day have anything for Cake? Goodness gracious, it's beautiful. Jonathan Dunk going around the right-hand side then of KBO7, that was neatly done. Through the horseshoe now as they head towards the worst chicane in Formula 1. Well, actually, I'm sorry, I may have lied to you. That's reserved for the Hungary chicane. This is the second worst chicane in Formula 1, if you ask me. Into DRS once more. Well, let's see the speeds that they're pulling out here. Naturally, you would assume the highest we've seen so far is 336, so about 208 miles an hour. Let's see what he's got here. Does he find anything? 330. Meanwhile, a little bit further back, Cake Thomas and that of GSR Edgar side by side. Then he's 339 going into turn 17. That is by far the highest speed that we've seen both in the race and in the qualifying session as well. And Cake Thomas, he's had a bit of an error then, and he's dropped now behind El Majacco down to 9th. Maybe has he just lost it via oversteer then? That is quite odd of a mistake to happen. That's unprecedented then from the Red Bull driver, and he has considerably lost out then. Here's KBO7. He's down to the right rear tire of Jonathan Dunk for the 10th spot. Does he have anything for him now? No, it doesn't quite, as Jonathan Dunk is able to get back on the throttle much quicker than of the Red Bull, and that has given him a little bit of time, about 0.4 of a second worth. Aero Racing Design still doing his best to track down the McLaren of Lancey ahead, but meanwhile at the top of the grid, GSR Ryan Rods, it's all up to him, and he is all by himself, a 6-second gap. Now here's Dace. Can he find a move around Scornsy? He's within that slipstream now. It looks like Aero Racing Design wanted to have a little bit of a look down to the inside of the McLaren of Lancey to see how much pace he would have if he were to make that position or not. Dace still following closely in the track center of the Alpine ahead as they head into the turn 14 to 15 chicane. Heavy over the sausage curb then. Once more, well, it looks like Lancey's perhaps gotten better traction then, as Aero Racing Design has not been able to stay within half a second of the McLaren ahead. Now, this is the interesting thing we saw. Shariah Coleslaw, in fact, has his own F1 league, the Coleslaw Cup, actually. And we were seeing in that race, when we raced there at Miami, I believe it was not this past week, the week before, maybe 2 weeks before, you really have to be within about 0.2 of a second to make an overtake happen on that big, long straight going into towards turn 17. You really don't see anybody make incredible lunges, as we're going to see KBO7 make a lunge here down on Jonathan Dunk heading into the first corner. I think that one's gone quite well, as the camera angle doesn't really do us any justice. But yes, KBO7 makes his way up into 10th. But as we were saying, you don't really see drivers able to make the lunges from, 0.4 of a second back to try to make an overtake. Every overtake that we saw with the aid of DRS has been within about 0.2 or less. And it's really close to be within that gap and then stay in it. Speaking of within 0.2 of a second, here's Scornsy. He's going to have the aid of DRS on Aero Racing Design ahead, and I believe Scornsy right now much faster than that Williams as he goes wheel to wheel with him heading towards the horseshoe. He's got that inside line, and that's going to do him well then. Aero Racing Design still right there, but Scornsy, beautiful overtake from him as Jonathan Dunk gets around KBO7 once more, that with the aid of DRS as the grid now heads through the chicane here. All going quite well so far for Division 1. We've not had many incidents at all. We've not really had any sort of, I don't want to say buffoonery, but really, everything has stayed quite clean so far as we're about to start our 7th lap of the Grand Prix here shortly. This is what I'm talking about, race day, within 2.5 of Edgar ahead, but is just unable to make anything happen. He really, these DRS trains, really, I'd say detrimental to racing. As much as DRS is great and we love everything it does, it really has not helped the racing at tracks. We got these big long straights like that because drivers just stay within the slipstream of the car ahead, and the moment that they peak their car out, they just get sucked on back. It's very much like that effect in NASCAR. You see at Daytona and the super speedways, where you get out of the draft and then suddenly you're hit with that wall of air, and then it slows you down considerably as KBO7 down to the inside. Oh, and Jonathan Dunk has gone around, facing the wrong way on the circuit. He's going to have to get that fixed shortly. Oh, and that is not what we like to see, as Mitch Burns, unfortunately, the safety car is going to be coming out on track here, but unfortunately as it is, Jonathan Dunk was spun around, obviously, as we saw in the middle of the circuit. Mitch Burns was not able to get away from him. So on to the 7th lap of the Grand Prix. Wow, okay. Well, that is the seating position then of the Ferrari driver as is in that car. That's quite neat. Anyways, we are within the 7th lap of the Grand Prix here. I don't expect to see many drivers pit this time by. I would expect to see, if you're on the mediums, perhaps you stay there, as you can go to that 17th lap. You can go another 10 on this tire compound, but it'll be interesting to see. And so we're going to wait for the drivers to kind of circle their way through here. Let's see what GSR Ryan Rod says. He is, naturally, he is going to be the leader of the tire strategy procession here, as anything that he does, the drivers behind him are going to want to copy him so that they're on that same page. And I tell you what, this, I really say, has hindered that of GSR Ryan Rods, who Ryan Rods is coming in. So let's go ahead and see what Lancey does. He's up next. Lancey comes in, Scornsey comes in, ARD comes in, Dace comes in, Edgar comes in, everyone and their mother, possibly their brother, coming in to make that stop for what we would assume is to go onto the hards. Actually, has he done the mediums then, GSR Ryan Rods? Wait, what? I'm sorry, I dreadfully apologize. GSR Ryan Rods, am I seeing this correctly? He's just gone down the pit lane. Smith Pell. Oh. I don't know if this is some sort of game error where it says 6 laps old. You could see that as well. They're definitely not 6-lap old tires. Because I believe, who here has stopped so far? We've got Ryan Rods has stopped, Scornsey stopped, Air Racing Design has stopped, Edgar, Race Day, Jacko, and then everyone on back. But then, as you can see, it says 6-lap old tires. And finally, the scoreboard kind of resetting itself here as, yeah, we kind of thought that that was quite a bit odd. Let's probably tell, as Tiger NASCAR picked up a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car. That's not one you see often. But we are going to step aside here temporarily as we let the safety car sort itself out. It is GSR Ryan Rods atop the table, Lancey in second. Actually, sorry, Smith Pell second, and then that of Lancey in third. And there you go. Finally, the leaderboard rights itself. I will step aside as we let the safety car sort itself out. So it looks like the safety car will be on its way in then. Everyone has pit, minus that of Smith Pell. Impossible Bacon and Tiger NASCAR as well. It looks like Scavney, Killer XL, and JCast have all gone. Well, Scavney's gone to the mediums, JCast's gone to the mediums, Killer XL's gone to the softs. Bit of an interesting strategy call that. Forward has stayed out as well. He's up to 6th. GSR Ryan Rods, the gap from himself to the rest of the grid that he previously had is now gone. And he's going to start once again. Look at that already. A second, 1.2 seconds. Just simply because Smith Pell, I don't want to say he's in the way, but he's definitely on slower tires than everyone else. Well, here is Lancey. Within that couple of tenths on Smith Pell head, you saw the wiggle that Smith Pell just had. That was nearly incredibly bad then. Scornsey, he's within 2 tenths now on Lancey ahead of him. Let's see if Scornsey's got anything here. Wow, I think he could have had that underside then, the left-hand side. But I think he backed out of it just in the nick of time. And it looks like we have a car off towards the back. Perhaps then the Williams and Tiger NASCAR, or perhaps whatever happened, has righted itself rather quickly. Within 2 tenths now is Scornsey on the McLaren ahead. Not even really using his battery. Lancey is using his battery to defend. But it looks like for now, GSR Ryan Rods once again has gone out to a 2.5 second lead right off the bat. Here's Scornsey. Does he perhaps find a move around Lancey now going through the horseshoe? Not quite, but it looks like Race Day and GSR Edgar, they're side by side as they now head towards the chicane. Oh, and I believe, honestly, Edgar has maybe gotten a little bit loose going towards that chicane, and it's forced Race Day off track ever so slightly. I don't necessarily believe anything wrongdoing has happened there with Race Day. I think naturally he just kind of lost the back end of the car, perhaps, and that has forced, Edgar has accidentally forced Race Day off track then. Here's Scornsy. I think he did once more have a peek down to the inside on that McLaren, but he wasn't able to make anything happen. Now, this is a problem we've seen with Scornsy, at least in that Coleslaw Cup division on Monday nights. We have seen times where Scornsy is very reluctant to take the chances that are given to him, as he's got one now, around that left-hand side of the McLaren. Does he stay with it? I don't think he will. He's going to go side by side, almost contact being made, and Lancey does keep the position only just. And it looks like Majacco and GSR Edgar battling it out now. Side by side then, with that of the McLaren of Lancey. Oh, and Lancey's gone quite off track then. Shelly the Turtle wants an invite. To what? Looks like now 1/10 of a second the gap between Aero Racing Design and Lancey. Oh, look at that. Lancey, wow, where did Lancey come from? He's just gone straight up through the middle then. He's overtaken Aero Racing Design and Scornsy just then. That was brilliantly done. Side by side currently between the McLaren of Lancey and Scornsy as they head to the chicane. Let's see what happens here. Lancey still has that inside. It's side by side through that corner. That was wild. As Scornsy finally comes out ahead somehow. I'm going to take just a second to invite Shariah Coleslaw, or Shelly the Turtle rather. As really quick, Lancey goes down to the inside on Scornsy. Does he make that move happen? Oh, it's going to be quite close. He's still right there. Look at this camera shot then as they head towards turn 17. Even Stevens between the two, and Lancey does have that move for now. Back underway after inviting Shelly the Turtle to do some interdimensional comms here. It looks like Aero Racing Design now to the back of Lancey. Doesn't look like anything else has happened just then. Tiger NASCAR is, however, on his way into the pits. It looks like here, after DRS has been enabled, Aero Racing Design, he's within 2/10 on the McLaren ahead of him. Meanwhile, Dace, he's within a 1/10.5 on the Haas in front of him. He's going to go around that right-hand side. It looks like he's going to have that position made. Down to the inside, swapping back and forth then. It looks like it was side by side. Down to the inside looks Aero Racing Design right for that left rear tire of the McLaren. He's not able to make it happen. Meanwhile, towards the back, it looks like the Haas are forward. I think in the mix there with Race Day and perhaps Dace as well as they head over the chicane. Oh, and I don't think the Haas has gotten the best go of it then. Looks like the DRS train forms once more. Let's see if anyone is perhaps able to make a move. Here's Scornsy. Right along the gearbox then of the Alfa Romeo of Smith Pell. 335 kilometers an hour heading into the corner. It looks like Race Day, I think, wanted to have a move there on forward, but wasn't able to make it happen. Meanwhile, Dace, he is still within 2/10 on Aero Racing Design ahead. Smith Pell, I gotta hand it to you, him, has been doing considerably well for being on double the tire age of everyone else, as it looks like he is defending like a champ. Oh, and Tiger NASCAR, well, he's done it in the pits, thankfully. Scornsy still within 2/10 on the Alfa Romeo ahead. He's still not been able to really. As it looks like Tiger NASCAR stuck in the pits was his thing then. That's a bit odd. 2/10 of a second. Aero Racing Design. Look at this camera shot we have here. So many drivers being able to follow so closely with each other. Scornsy within 1/10, within 2/10 on Smith Pell. Lancey within 3/10 on Scornsy. Everybody is within DRS distance on each other. This is unbelievable. Look at the whole grid. The whole grid minus that of Jonathan Dunk back to Scabney. And naturally Scornsy up to GSR Ryan Rods. It looks like Scornsy's gotten around Smith Pell then. Everybody within DRS range of each other. This is absolutely brilliant stuff here. Here's Lancey. Does he have anything for Smith Pell ahead? Oh, contact then with the gearbox of the Alfa Romeo in front of him. It looks like Dace, I think, maybe wanted to have a look here at Aero Racing Design. Who gets on the throttle the best? Smith Pell now falling off a second behind Scornsy. I believe Scornsy, though, is going to be at somewhat of a disadvantage here, as not having DRS, I'm assuming, is really going to hurt him. Down to the inside looks Lancey of that on Smith Pell. Does he have it? Yes, he does. Further back as well, it looks like Aero Racing Design. He wants that inside of the Alfa Romeo. Then he might just get it. We have an incident off towards the back. It looks like, oh, GSR Edgar's gone off. Then multiple cars involved. GSR Edgar spun around, going through the corner, and only just were people able to avoid that. And there's quite a lot of carbon fiber going on then. El Majacco, he's on his way in. I'm believing he might be very much involved in that. Does the front wing get replaced? No, it doesn't. KB07, his does. Not quite sure what's happened then. That was right in the danger zone then, really. That was in the middle of the pack. That could have been severe carnage, but thankfully, it ended out quite all right. Here's Race Day, within 3/10 on forward ahead of him. He's got, well, little to no battery to do anything with here. I don't think DRS is going to be enough to overtake him. Here's Dace. He still has a little bit of battery to get around Smith-Pell. He's going to look to that right side, then back down to the inside. Does he have it? Yes, he does, but only just. El Majacco, I believe, is spun out coming out of the pits, perhaps on those cold tires. That's exactly what's happened. El Majacco, not the best race weekend for him. Here's forward still, looking to the back of Smith-Pell ahead of him. Race Day, I believe, almost made the overtake then going through the chicane. That would have been absolutely critical, but he's not done it. DRS enabled here for Race Day, and I'm afraid Race Day really has drained his battery. Really empty now as Aero Racing Design down to the inside of that on Lancey, side by side, going through turn 17, and the Williams had the bottom line. Ooh, and it looks like Lancey's really made contact with the wall then. You can see him, he had the wiggle. The rear end did not want to cooperate with him, and he's lost the back of the car, and I think maybe brushed the wall going out of turn 17. That's not good at all for him, although thankfully it doesn't seem like he's got any wing damage then. It looks like Kate Thomas and Jonathan Dunk, they are side by side going through that first corner. Kate Thomas has it for now, but only just. It's still side by side between these two. And it looks like now Jonathan Dunk has finally gotten around Kate Thomas. And I tell you what, quite the unconventional place to overtake. That was neatly done then from the Ferrari driver. Speaking of Ferrari drivers here, it looks like Dace still trying his best to get back to Lancey for the 4th spot. It looks like everybody within the top 4 has been evenly spaced out now. Behind from Dace on back, everybody's still within DRS range until you get to Killer XL. He's about a second and a half off. Scavney about a second and a half off of Killer. Jonathan Dunk about a second off of Scavney. Behind him, it looks like Kate Thomas still within striking distance then of the Ferrari. Meanwhile, here's Dace. Well, we have a yellow flag once again. El Majacco, I believe, has taken a quick trip around, and that's exactly what's happened. That is the second time now Jacko has lost it in that section of the track. He did it last lap, and he's done it again. Looks like here's Race Day. Can he perhaps find a move down to the bottom on forward? Yeah, he's going to really lunge for it then. Does he have that bottom line cleanly? Oh, a little bit of contact then. Crucially, Dace has picked up 3 seconds for multiple warnings. Not actually sure where he could have picked that up on this section of track, but he picked it up, he has. Race Day was a great overtake then, and out forward's going to get him around the outside, perhaps. He's still there. It's still side by side, and somehow Race Day has come away with a position yet again. Neatly done then with the AlphaTauri to hold the spot off from the Haas. Looks like Dace, despite having that 3-second penalty, he is within half a second on Lancey for the 4th spot. Now, thankfully for Dace, even if the results hold, he really won't lose too many positions, only a couple. Let's see if he perhaps has anything here. 0.5 of a second for Race Day, but look at him try to use the battery without any battery at all. That's the only way to put that. Whoa, look at that! Dace's helmet is a fish! Anyone just seeing that now? I know it was in the podium pass. I've not gotten a chance to see it on track. That is brilliant looking, that. That may be the most amazing thing I've seen today. Race Day now, he's within a couple of tenths on Smith-Pell ahead of him. Is he going to be able to chase him down? Well, he's gotten a lot of oversteer coming out of turn 16. I don't necessarily believe he'll be able to make that overtake happen this time by. Within 0.3 of a second he is, but again, it's not going to be enough to make that happen. Ryan Rod's actually setting the fastest lap of 1:35.14. That has done in his previous fastest lap, which by the way was on the mediums, by about 0.3 of a second I think he's done that in by. I tell you what, Race Day, he's going to look down to the bottom on Smith-Pell now as forward comes in. Still right there, still side by side. Later braking done then by Race Day. Smith-Pell was still right there, and I don't think he'll be able to reclaim that spot. Nicely done then from Race Day, but I tell you what, if I was Race Day right now, of course there's not many places on this circuit to recharge your battery. But I would seriously consider perhaps taking a couple laps off from using your energy store then. He's down within his last 10% now, and he's been that way for quite a few laps. And speaking of down within 10%, that's Lancey having to defend Dace behind him. Dace, once again, 0.3 of a second, no battery being used, but he's still within the slipstream of the McLaren. Does he have anything for him heading towards the horseshoe? Oh, and I bet you if the straight was about 300 meters longer, he would have had it. Really riding the inside wall, going through the horseshoe. Mind you, Lancey has been able to get it close once again to the back of Aero Racing Design. It looks like as Aero Racing Design made somewhat of a mistake here, he was within a second and a half on Scornsy not too long ago, and now suddenly he has fallen off quite significantly. Does Lancey have anything for him here? He's going to look down to the inside on the Williams. Yes, he does have it. In fact, but at the Haas of forward, either that or J-Cast has gone off. That going through the chicane. Lancey's been able to make that move happen. Nicely done for him. Can we look and see what's happened with one of the Haas drivers? I'm going to go ahead and assume it was forward, who, no offense to him, he's taken a little bit to get back up to speed then. It doesn't look like he's done in at his wing or anything, which is good for him. Smith Pell now coming into the pits. He is those 17-lap-old hard tires. Here's Aero Racing Design. He's within 2/10 of Lancey ahead of him, and Dace is in this battle as well. This is currently the closest battle on track. And so he's going to look for it through turn 6, 7, and 8 now. Let's see who gets the better run here as they make their way towards DRS. Perhaps that is where Dace has been picking up some of his track limits warnings, perhaps. Aero Racing Design, he wanted to have the peak on Lancey before DRS was available, and now he's going to look for it here. Dace still riding the inside of the circuit then. Is Dace going to do both of them here? And I tell you what, I think he wanted it, but he wasn't able to. I think Dace chose better there. He chose life. I tell you what, I fully believe he could have made that move happen as well, but he chose not to. And I guess smart for him for, realizing his limits there as to not cause any carnage. Wow, that was almost unbelievable stuff then from Dace. And mind you, Race Day's in this battle as well. He's suddenly coming into the picture for this, what is eventually to be third spot. Does anyone have anything here as they go down the straight? Aero Racing Design looking now to the inside of the McLaren of Lancey for the left rear tire. Does he have it? No, he doesn't. This is where Lancey lost the car a couple of laps ago. Does he again? Still, Lancey is able to defend very nicely to the back of Aero Racing Design then, doing everything he can to keep that Williams behind, and he's done just that so far. As we have these three cars. That's a lot of contact then. And Aero Racing Design now has been bumped out of the way, and he's now dropped down behind Race Day then for that 6th spot. That was even more contact, and now Race Day's gone off. Yikes. And I tell you what, I'm not exactly sure what's happened. And Lancey was hard on the brakes going through the first corner. Aero Racing Design was behind him, and Dace was right there as well. Eased in to both cars then, from the front wing going into Lancey, and from the back wing from Dace. And then I believe trying to regain his composure then side by side with Race Day, and that has resulted in Race Day losing a decent handful of positions then, and what was, I don't actually know what it was. I don't know if it was a mistake from the AlphaTauri driver or was it contact. I'm not sure. We didn't get a really good look at it, unfortunately. But either way, Aero Racing Design now has lost his couple of positions there to both Dace and Lancey, and Race Day is now down to he's down to 10th now. DRS open once more here. Looks like the Ferrari at Dace might want something to the inside. It looks like El Majaco's gone off again, perhaps, back there. So here's Dace. Does he have the inside over Lancey? Yes, he does. Is he going to be able to hold on to it, though? That's the crucial thing. And no, Dace backs out of it. And Lancey does keep the position for now. Big wiggle then from the Ferrari. That's another what we were talking about before. Just unable really to pick up any traction through those first couple of corners. Very difficult section of track. And Dace has gone way out of the way then. But Lancey's gone off. And so that's why Dace was able to suddenly make up those positions, because Lancey had slid out of the way and had hindered the progress of Aero Racing Design in perhaps doing that. I'm not sure what's happened there with the McLaren, but he has gone off track. He's regaining his composure now as he looks to defend the position once more from the Haas forward, who he's going to have DRS, I'm afraid, and it looks like Lancey is going to be losing that position as well. But that was such a conundrum then. Lancey does have DRS here. He's going to look for it. Now to the back. Now going around the right-hand side of forward, he's going to get that position back after all. But so that grouping of cars then between Dace, Aero Racing Design, and Lancey, and as well as Race Day, that's resulted in now 2 incidents within the past couple of laps. We're within the last 10 laps of the Grand Prix now. This GSR Ryan Rods making his way through Sector 1 now. We've got the Haas of J-Cast, who I believe has just gone off back there. It looks like Impossible Bacon, no, Scavney to the back of Jonathan Dunk here. He's within about half a second. Looks like forward to the back of Lancey once more. Mind you, forwards on those mediums. We might have a go at him eventually. See if he does. He's got 30% battery to work with here. Lancey doesn't really have anything to defend. And forward's going to try to make it around the left-hand side. Contact there between himself and the McLaren. Does he have the position? Does he hold on to the car enough to make it happen? Still side by side, and somehow the Haas able to get around the McLaren then. That was a beautiful overtake, and once again, a very unconventional part of the circuit. We saw Jonathan Dunk make that move earlier, I believe. Now here's Aero Racing Design to the back of Dace. Mind you, Dace has 3 seconds of time penalty. That'll only drop him to 4th. So either way, Dace can defend all he wants here. He's going to be dropping to 4th, but all that does for him is really ensure that he doesn't lose position to his teammate of Jonathan Dunk. And, well, that's a prime example of commentator's curse then. He's picked up another 3-second time penalty. That puts him at 6. Smith, Bell, and Lancey battling it out then once more. Oh, has someone gone off there? No, but it's side by side between these two as they go through the horseshoe. This is a beautiful battle this here as they now head towards the chicane. More contact being made there. Oh, and Lancey's gone off. Oh, and he's lost the front wing as well. This is a terrible spot of the track to have gone off in. Yikes, that was quite tough then, and I don't really know who to put the blame on there for that. I mean, both drivers really giving it everything they could. Now, in fairness to Lancey, Smith Pell had been bumped off the circuit and then came back on, and maybe perhaps did Smith Pell re-enter the track, and that's what made Lancey spin around them. That would be my best guess as to what happened there. Still, a very interesting turn of events there. And Lancey, I tell you what, his day has gone from bad, has gone from great to bad to even worse, all within the span of the past 5 laps, I'd say. But here's Aero Racing Design. He once more is going to try to take the position away from Dace. Does he have anything for him? He's got he doesn't have any battery life in order to make that move. He's going to try it down the inside, DRS to his aid, and Dace really outbreaks him then. And Aero Racing Design going to go back to the left-hand side. Maybe does Dace float back up the circuit? That's exactly what Racing Design was trying to do. He's trying to get back down to the inside. He wasn't able to exactly, but I tell you what, he tried his best. Aero Racing Design tried his hand there at chicanery, and it's come up just a little bit short. Well, it looks like Impossible Bacon and Race Day a little bit of a battle here. 0.6 of a second for the AlphaTauri back to the Aston Martin ahead of him. And now, mind you, this is the thing once again. Look how little battery that the AlphaTauri of Race Day has. It's down once again outside 15% here, as it looks like El Majaco once more. Actually, both McLarens having a little bit of trouble here. Killer Excelli's within about 0.3 on his teammate ahead. I doubt he's going to try unbelievably hard for that position, but mind you, still then the battle for the 3rd spot. Aero Racing Design, 0.3 of a second, but he's not been able to make anything happen so far. He's been doing everything he can. I'll give it to him. He's put in a great effort, but I'm not entirely sure. So interesting, this Scavney on those medium tires. I mean, the game will only let you... I mean, the game says the mediums will only last 17 laps. So Scavney has 2 laps. That'll put him at 25. So he's got to get to 19 laps on those mediums in order to finish the Grand Prix. That might be a monumental task then for the Aston Martin driver. Side by side once more goes Aero Racing Design and Dace. Aero Racing Design finally, I think, getting the position up the inside then. Contact a little bit to the right front end plate on the wing of Dace. Thankfully, it's not resulted in any damage. However, that has gone quite trickily then. Side by side is Race Day. Impossible Bacon's actually gone down the around the left-hand side then. of the AlphaTauri, and he's been able to make that move happen. Oh, well, hang on a minute. Race Day, I believe. Something has just happened with him. It was either him or Impossible Bacon. Someone has fallen way out of line then, barely catching their oversteer, and now Race Day is going to look for it around the right-hand side of Impossible Bacon. He's going to make that move happen. Meanwhile, once more, Aero Racing Design and Dace swapping positions again whilst we were away from him. It's been a great battle between these two, doing everything they can. Meanwhile, once more, Race Day, Impossible Bacon, 0.3 of a second as Dirty Boy Jackson joining the session, as it turns out, for some reason. Does Bacon have anything for Race Day here? With 6 laps to go. 0.2 of a second. Bacon looking for it here. Now, I tell you what, Bacon really has been doing a really good job at trying his best to at least... Oh, I think Race Day has had a little bit of an incident then. I believe he's caught oversteer or something, because he has really fallen out of line then, and Impossible Bacon's been able to take that position. Aero Racing Design once more. Within a couple of tenths on Dace. I tell you what, Dace is defending like a brick wall here. Although it is not helping him whatsoever, because, mind you, he does have 6 seconds of penalty. Prior, when he had 3, he was at least a little bit ahead of Jonathan Dunk to where he's only going to lose that 1 spot, and now it looks like this defending has allowed Jonathan Dunk to close in just ahead of him, although it really isn't going to be enough to make anything happen, I'm afraid, unless something dramatic happens. Aero Racing Design not able to make the move that time. Here is Race Day to the back of Impossible Bacon. He's going to try it around the right-hand side. Does he have anything for him there? His battery completely drained. 334, let's say, going into the 17th corner. He's made that move happen quite nicely, but I'm afraid that battle isn't over yet. And Impossible Bacon, you got to hand it to him. 4 laps older tires than that of Race Day, and he's, getting on with it, really. 5 laps to go now. Kelly the Turtle joins once more. Scavney, he is now within. Now, this is what I'm interested here in Scavney, because once again, he's got to go 5 more laps. 4 or 5 more laps on those medium tires. The game, which the game only says can go 17 laps. He's eclipsed that now, and you can see the graining on the right front tire there, as you can see. So we have to assume that Scavney is within now, I'd say about 50 to 60% on those medium tires. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot. That sounds like, well, you still got half a tire life left. Well, the premium wear window for these tires is nothing to about 30. So if you're outside of that, you really are driving on icicles then. As Aero Racing Design still, once again, the back of Dace, but to no avail. Scavney's hunting down Jonathan Dunk here. DRS will be open for the Aston Martin. Battery being used. Jonathan Dunk using his 20% that he has remaining to defend. The Aston Martin now of Scavney. Looking down, perhaps, when they get into the corner. Dace and Aero Racing Design, they're side by side, going out of 17. And once more, Dace is able to hold off the oncoming Williams. Looks like Jonathan Dunk has been able to defend the spot to the back of Scavney. Back to Scavney then. Once more, does Scavney have anything down to the inside? I tell you what, Scavney really showing some great pace here, despite some tires that realistically might be going off the cliff here within a couple of laps. Still 0.4 of a second. Does he have anything to get any closer? I'm not quite sure he does. Aero Racing Design, he's still doing everything he can to somehow get around Dace. Now, mind you, that gap from Dace back to Jonathan Dunk is now about 4.5 seconds once more. This battling that Jonathan Dunk is having to do with Scavney is actually hindering Jonathan Dunk, because that might prevent him. Of course, he's got only a couple laps left, but that might prevent him from finishing higher than his teammate here. That's an interesting one. Look, he's now back. Yeah, 4.5 seconds. That is about the highest we've seen it so far, but it's still counting. Here's Impossible Bacon. Does he have anything for Race Day ahead? This battle has been going on for quite some time now. Impossible Bacon, remind you, 4 laps older tires than the AlphaTauri ahead of him. Let's see how good traction he gets out of the corner. Oh, really heavy on 4th gear then. He wasn't able to shift gears quick enough, I'm afraid. In Race Day, now has quite the advantage over the Aston Martin then. And you say quite the advantage, it's only 3.5 tenths. Yeah, well, that's not even close enough to make an overtake happen on this circuit, I'm afraid. 3 laps to go now. GSR Ryan Rods has had this day pretty much all to himself. Now, don't quote me, because it could be wrong, but I believe Ryan Rods is on pace for a Grand Slam here. He's qualified on pole. Get a yellow flag, Elma Jacko getting out of the way. I believe he's qualified on pole. I think he's led every lap, and if there's a lap he hasn't led, perhaps he was pitting under safety car, but even then, nobody was there enough to get around him. I believe GSR Ryan Rods on pace for a Grand Slam here. Aero Racing Design, he's still within a couple of tenths on Dace ahead of him. Meanwhile, Scavney trying to hunt down Dace's Ferrari teammate of Jonathan Dunk. A little bit further back, here's Impossible Bacon. He's going to be looking down to the inside on race day as they head towards the horseshoe. And he does have him there. Lancy, 5-second penalty for corner cutting. Through the horseshoe they go. It's wheel-to-wheel racing here between the Aston Martin and the AlphaTauri. Side by side once more through the chicane. Oh, and both of them, contact was made there. Yeah, I'm afraid that you're not really going to go side by side through that section of the track, as they both found out. Impossible Bacon does have the spot. Meanwhile, Aero Racing Design finally, once again, still side by side with that Ferrari. To no avail. Aero Racing Design has been doing everything he can to get around Dace, and he's not had anything for him. Yes, Ryan Rods started on pole. I think he's led every lap. This very well could be a Grand Slam then for GSR Ryan Rods. Don't quote me, I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he's led every lap of this Grand Prix. Race Day and Bacon, side by side once more. Oh, and somehow now Edgar is in this battle as well. Suddenly, this is a huge battle then. 4 cars in the mix for this. We got Race Day, Edgar, Impossible Bacon, and Forward. 4 here. Where have these guys come from? Killer XL. Oh no, Killer XL, the fastest lap, a 1:29.744. And that's on the softs as well. That has taken away the Grand Slam from GSR Ryan Rods. Oh, and that's just actually heartbreaking there. Here's Forward now. Can he find a way to get around Impossible Bacon? He's going to look for it now around the right-hand side. Does he have anything? He's still looking for it then. Side by side as they go through the horseshoe. Impossible Bacon still has the left-hand side of the circuit. He's going to have the inside here going into the chicane. Now, he did this with Race Day not long ago. Contact made there, and somehow, some way, Forward has been able to make that move happen going through the chicane. Final lap of the Grand Prix is underway. It's a beautiful move then from Forward to take that spot, I must say. Absolutely brilliant stuff then. Impossible Bacon, though, still right there. Edgar now has fallen out of overtaking range of Edgar. Edgar has fallen out of overtaking range of Race Day, about 0.8 of a second behind. That's not going to get him anywhere, I'm afraid. Aero Racing Design, he's fallen out of overtaking range on Dace. And now, mind you, Jonathan Dunk, look at this. 5.5 seconds. Dace may keep this position if Jonathan Dunk makes a mistake. Mind you, they're teammates, and I'm sure either way they'd be quite happy. And even if Dace loses the position to Jonathan Dunk, he won't lose many after that. But still, that would be quite something if Dace is able to somehow hold him off and keep the 4th position. It'd be a great result. Edgar and Race Day, side by side. Oh, has Race Day had an off then? Oh, it looks like he may have. And now Forward, going to look for it. He's at the gearbox of the AlphaTauri of Race Day. Does he have anything for him as they go through the horseshoe? Battery being used. Less than 0.8 of a second. Oh, he's almost gotten caught up in the Alpine then, as GSR Ryan Rods coming across the line now. GSR Ryan Rods will win the inaugural Miami Grand Prix in fantastic fashion, and I believe that was almost an unbelievable a double overtake then. And wow, that was honestly, I'm not even sure what's happened then, but Scornsy crosses the line in second. We're watching this battle here for the 8th spot, and somehow Race Day has been able to hold him off. The Race Day was trapped then behind. It was trapped behind the Alpine of Edgar. Edgar's fallen off. Forward now down to the inside on those medium tires. Still there through 17. Contact being made. Wheel-to-wheel racing here. Who is going to get the position at the line? Forward's gone around! And just when you thought we were off to a Forward has spun around then, and, well, so is Race Day. But it is GSR Ryan Rods taking the Grand Slam minus the fastest lap, done by Killer XL. But as we said going into it, he was going to be the driver to beat today, and he was. That was a very commanding win then from Ryan Rhodes, taking the win here in Miami. So at the end of the day here in Miami, GSR Ryan Rhodes with a commanding win. Scornsey comes up from 4th to 2nd. Aero Racing Design to 3rd. Jonathan Dunk up from 10th to finish 4th. 5th is Dace. 6th is Scavney from starting 18th on the grid. 7th is Kate Thomas. 8th is Race Day. 9th is Edgar. 10th is Bacon. 11th Smith Pell. 12th is Forward, 13th Killer XL, 14th is KBO7, 15th JCast, 16th Majako, 17th Lancey, and then rounding out the field, 18th and 19th, did not finish the session, Tiger NASCAR and Mitch Burns. Well, next week the league heads to Singapore for what will be a very exciting race, and I tell you what, a lot of these Division 1 drivers very, very talented at Singapore. Talented anyways, but even more so at Singapore, and it's going to be one hell of a Grand Prix next week. Hotspot, thank you for joining us on the call. It's been a pleasure, everyone, and we will see you next week.